Welcome to the Salt Strong Podcast, disrupting fishing entertainment as you know it. Prepare to laugh. Prepare to get to know fishing legends in a whole new and unfiltered way. And on occasion, you might even learn a thing or two about fishing. Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
Run your race. Hey everybody, Joe Simons, like diamonds, back again with Salt Strong Unchurched. Just finished up here with Thanksgiving. So much to be thankful for. I hope you had a great one. Hope you were around your loved ones. And I hope you were able to really take it all in and look at everything around you, from the people to the things that you have, and give thanks. I will be honest, it is something that I've struggled with. And probably like many of us, I think in just today's society, we see all of these nice things that other people have, right? From people that you know on social media or in real life, to people you don't know that you see on social media and or in real life, you know, driving around or in bigger houses than yours or bigger boats or whatever it might be. And as much as we all can say, yeah, just be happy with what you got, it can be really hard. I mean, we're humans. We're almost like hardwired to kind of feel that way sometimes. And this past year, I've shared a couple times in a few of these episodes, it's just been feels like just kind of a roller coaster of a year in general. And I think any times when their things are maybe just out of sync, where they're not consistent, that is an easy time to kind of get a little insecure, perhaps. I'm talking from experience, and start looking at other things, right? For me, it was even other companies, right? Like, oh man, just, you know, we had a lot of things just breaking at Salt Strong, just to be honest. Like, we've now, you know, surpassed 50,000 members, and that's a certain amount of revenue that, you know, we knew we wanted to hit, which was awesome, huge celebration. But if any of you guys have run a business or been part of a business that had great growth and fast growth, you start basically outpacing some of your systems. In some cases, you literally outgrow them, just like you would if you had a family of 6 people and you're in a 2-bedroom house. You've outgrown that house. We've literally outgrown our house. And for us, that's our CRM. That's where everything is managed. I mean, we have hundreds of thousands of customers, right? Because we sell a lot of tackle as well. And courses, I mean, literally hundreds of thousands of customers, and they all have different tags on what they have access to, and discounts or no discounts, and if they did leave the club or came back, on how all that stuff's triggered. And it ends up being like millions of tags, literally, because some customers have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tags. Anyhow, I share that with you to say, everything was just breaking and things weren't working. It was so frustrating because we had a great product, right? The Salt Strong Insider Club and what we sell is amazing. But I don't know. I had so many stressful days to the point I wished I had someone else's company is where I'm going with all this. And I've sat in quite a few meetings over the past year. I try to surround myself with other founders and business leaders through C12 and a couple of little masterminds I'm a part of. And I was finding myself just almost kind of bitter. Like, man, why is everything breaking in Salt Strong? Why can't I have my business, you know, like theirs? And what was funny, I would have multiple people after we'd all take our turns presenting, coming up saying, oh, dude, you got an amazing business. I wish I had your business. And I'm sitting there thinking, dude, I'll trade you right now. But it goes back to that, you know, grass is not always greener on the other side. And I know I am way too quick to compare myself to others. And that's really the title of this, right? We need to run our own race, right? Because when you start comparing yourself to others, whether it's individually or families or, you know, the amount of travel other families get to do or the bigger house or boat or whatever it is, it can start creating some of that bitterness, which is what I felt a couple times just on the business side of things. Like, man, why does all this stuff have to be breaking? And then I felt helpless because I didn't personally know how to fix it. I'm not an operations guy. And that's my absolute weak spot. And so I felt like I could do nothing to help this thing out. And I started becoming bitter. And, you know, on the family side of things or the personal belonging side of things, it can start creating, you know, some jealousy, right? And but God has a specific plan for you. And I really do believe we're all called to run our race. And this past Thanksgiving to me was just such a great reminder, because that is one of those times. I have a busy life, and I'm sure you do as well. But Thanksgiving is one of those times where I always just kind of slow things down and really spend some time outside. The weather's nice, good time to just be out in the boat or walk around hiking. And I really do give thanks to God. And I really do just sit there and dwell on all the awesome stuff that I have, not the things I don't have. And, if you recall the story of the Pilgrims back in the 1600s, they had nothing, right, except a dream, right? Think about what they came over with and what they had to deal with, right? There were no streetlights. There were no roads. There was no running water for them. There was all the things that we take for granted. There's no Wi-Fi, kids. They had nothing. I'm talking literally nothing. It would be like dropping one of us into a wild forest or some area that has never even been touched by man before. You can imagine, yet what do they do? What do we know them for, right? Giving thanks, right? They were giving thanks for their faith, not their abundance. Think about that. Because that was what really hit me. I was like, man, what were they giving God thanks for? They were literally, the only thing they really had was freedom, right? And faith, right? So they were giving, and it was all started with faith, because faith is what even gave them the courage to even come over and start a whole new life, right? That takes a ton of faith. And this is the unknown. It's not like they're on the internet doing searches to see how this cool little island is on Verbo, right? They're literally going over there completely blind, hoping and praying, mostly praying that God was going to give them a new life. And I can't even imagine doing that with my family right now. That really, really is kind of crazy if you think about what they went through, putting yourself in their shoes. And yet the very first thing they start doing, that we're still talking about the Pilgrims today, is this Thanksgiving feast. They were giving thanks to everything that God had provided, but mostly it wasn't that much stuff, right? Because they didn't have any real good stuff back then. They were just getting by. I don't know the exact number, but it was a massive portion of them died. Their babies died. Can you imagine your young kids passing away in this new world? There were so many things to be bitter about. There were so many things to be jealous about. Oh man, I wish I was back there and over there in England, or where, I can't even imagine what they were feeling. Yet they gave thanks for all of God's love and all of God's certainty in an uncertain world. And to me, that's what I love. Yes, there's a lot of uncertainty out there, and I know the elections are all past us, but it still feels like there's some uncertainty out there about, man, what is going to happen? When are things going to feel like they're getting better? When am I going to feel like I'm wealthy again, right? Just inflation's still high. There's so many just not great things going on. But yet, if you think about God's promise to us, there is a lot of certainty, right? That He is always going to love us. And that's something I always remind myself as well. No matter what happens with my company, with family, or whatever, I'm always worthy. God always loves me. And I take so much peace in that. Anytime I start to become jealous of others, there's some friends that we have, and they just get to do so many cool things and travel all over the place. And it's real easy to say, oh man, I wish that was my life. But no, at some point I got, God, you put me here in this specific spot, in this specific family, running this specific business, doing everything I'm doing UNCHURCHED right now, because you wanted me to run my race. God has a specific plan for each and every one of us, and it is all different, just like we all look different. We're hardwired different. God has a very specific plan for you, and it is quite certain. He already knows your next steps. I think that is so cool. I take a lot of certainty in knowing that God knows my next steps. He knows who He's got me to meet next. He knows what doors are going to be happening next. And, I've talked about anxiety quite a bit in the past. And the irony is, anxiety is not something from the past. Anxiety is when you're living in the future, right? So depression, usually when you're living in the past. Anxiety is when you're living in the future, right? You're worried about things that haven't even happened yet. Depression, you're kind of dwelling on things that happened in the past. And so the key, obviously, is to be present and knowing that God has your back, that he knows exactly your next steps. He knows what your race is going to look like. So I just wanted to share all that. This is been just a good season for me of reflection, of really walking with God. And that would be my challenge to you. It's a challenge to me as well, is to spend more time walking with God. I talked about it before just a few weeks ago, where I kind of felt rushed doing my little morning prayers and some of my rituals because of some things going on. And yeah, this Thanksgiving, I was really able just to kind of pause and just slow it all down and just say thank you. And when you do that, when you start writing down things you're grateful for, and you start thanking God, that jealousy, that bitterness, that grass is always greener on the other side, right? That's the metaphor, right? That the grass is always greener on the other side. And I'm willing to bet there's many times, if not most of them, if you were put in that other person's shoes or that other company's shoes, you would quickly realize, wow, this is not what I thought it was going to be. This grass is not always greener on the other side, right? We don't have to dive into all the reasons why, but there's a million of them. And mostly it's because it's not the race that God wants you to be in. It is the absolute wrong race, and it will be so uncomfortable, and you'll quickly want to go back to say, you know what, I need to get back in my race. So a couple challenges here. One, spend more time walking with God. Number two, write down what you are grateful for. That is the easiest way to defeat all of this. Write down 3 things. That would be easy. 3 things. One thing. Start with one. Write down one thing that you're grateful for. You'll quickly realize there's way more than one every single day. And as you start writing those things down, and I'm talking about with a pen and paper, I haven't talked about that in a while. So the power of writing something down with your hand, not in your head, certainly, and not even on a computer. Write it down with your hand. There is something magical that happens subconsciously when you write it with a pen and paper or a pencil, if you're a pencil person, on a notepad or wherever you have it. And I like keeping them. I like keeping them and even going back and reviewing them every once in a while when I'm really, really bored to see, what was I grateful for, last year, this time, and just see how my life has changed and the impacts that have been made. But just I would challenge you to start doing that. This gratitude journal, so big, and you'll find yourself being like the pilgrims. You can have very little and still have so much, which is where they found themselves, right? Just incredibly grateful to be alive, incredibly grateful to have this newfound freedom, and ultimately to have God's will and to have God's favor and all that faith. I mean, it's such an amazing story if you really think about it, compared to what we have today and some of the things that we complain about, like when the Wi-Fi goes out or the power goes out after a hurricane. Yeah, it absolutely stinks. It stresses me out. But if you think about how much we have, wow, we have so much to be grateful for. So love you guys. Hope you have an amazing week. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Hope there was no family drama. And if there was, put it in the past and focus on the present. Don't focus in the past or the future. That'll cause anxiety. That'll cause depression. Focus on the present. Give God thanks. And tell your spouses, your kids, your grandkids, you love them. We have just so much to be grateful for. Thank you guys, and we'll talk to you on the next episode.
'Cause fishing, it's in my soul. It was passed down to me from the days of old. To find us on the water if there was a way. It's been said my papa, he wrote the book on catching big reds and 20-pound snook. I wish I knew all the things he knew today. For he's the reason why we are this way. And he put fishing in our soul.